Okay, being 7 o'clock, I'll call the February 7th City Council meeting to order. We please join me in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is public comments. Anybody wishing to make a public comment will have 3 minutes, and the city attorney will be our timekeeper and will do a 1-minute warning. First name on the list is Wayne Todd. I'll tell you in 1 minute.
Thank you. Howdy, everybody. I'm Wayne Toppins. I'm bringing up my alley issue. I was just going to ask that before any issue, I've already been in contact with Jim, that any issue that, say, we close that thoroughfare off, because that was what we were talking about, putting dead-end signs on South Boston, behind South Boston. And before that went forward, I would just ask that it goes to the planning commission. And I think we had an extension until the 15th, correct? To the 14th, or?
Yeah, until the 15th, we were going to talk to them.
And the planning commission's on, I think, the 17th.
Yeah, but I don't know if the planning commission is the right.
It is a thoroughfare, and that was my issue, so that we're putting dead ends on thoroughfare. So,
And that would actually be a council matter and not a planning commission matter.
and I will see how this goes, so, but to my definition, that's a thoroughfare, so I'll be through that.
Thank you, Wayne.
Roger, just for my edification, so basically we're still researching this and we will have more information and come back to council. Is that my understanding?
We can do that, yes. We are still researching, I know, when we talked last week with Wayne and Brian, they were going to talk to some of their neighbors and they were going to get back to us this month.
Okay, so we're waiting to hear back from.
And that, and they gave us a 2-week deadline before they would dead end signs on that thoroughfare.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Brian Hampton.
Thanks for having me. And I'm kind of in the same position. The closing off the alley just kind of messes up the use of my property. It makes it so I can't get my big trailers in and out. I'll literally have to just bring them somewhere else from now on. When I bought that piece of property in 2003, the lot had 13 wrecked cars. They were kind of junked out. It had 3 RVs, 2 of which had people living in them with no sewer or anything like that. It was just going on the ground. And we bought it, we cleaned it up, put a fence up. I bought it because it was zoned commercial. And over the next 10 years, I built this building and used it for my business and tried to hire people and try to make Empire better. You know, just like Mr. Thomas, I'm investing in Empire. I mean, with my money, I'm not getting any urban renewal funds or anything like that. I know Adam Rutherford had a nice piece of property just a block over from me, and he did a good job. You know, it's a good thing. But you know, I'm putting my own money in, trying to make that place better. Now, this piece of property, I mean, I'm dealing with the zombie apocalypse. There's just homeless. They're defecating in the alleyway. There's drug deals. I'm cleaning up. And I'm not directing the city. I'm not calling the police all the time. We're just dealing with it. And had people break in. My car got stolen right off the street, so now I park everything inside. It's just, it's a hard place. And I just believe that if we put a little bit of effort into Empire, we could make this place better. I mean, I think Empire would be really awesome. It just has this really cool history. And there's a lot of people that really have that desire to do something there. And so, that's about it. I just, and I'm okay with the people in the city are doing their job, and it's a hard thing, you know. And I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can work. I can still maintain access. I even offered to do the clearing with my business for free. I wouldn't charge the city anything. And gravel it, whatever. I've been graveling it for the last 20 years. The city sent a grader down one time, and that's about it. Like I said, we're just trying to maintain access and do what we can to make this place better. You know, really, really trying to do better. So thank you for your time, guys. And like I said, I'll accept whatever it happens, or whatever happens, and we'll just make it work one way or the other. But just hoping maybe we can find a way to work it out. Thank you.
Brian, can you remind me
Yes,
of the address?
My address, I'm sorry. My address is 142 South Cannon, Cammann. It's between Luigi's and the grade school, Sunset. It's just on that 100 block right there.
It's on the opposite side of the street, though.
Opposite side of the street from Luigi's. Yeah, and it's behind a big green fence, brand new building. We followed all the rules when we built it, I'm telling you. And tried to make a nice place.
It is one of the nicest buildings in that block area.
Yeah, and we even have got lights, so I light up the sidewalk and stuff, and try to make it better. So thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.
So, Roger, you said this will be coming back to us at some point?
Normally, this would be an administrative matter, but it's come before you a couple of times. I see no reason why we couldn't bring you a report on what's the issue, what's caused this problem, what are the alternatives, and what type of cost, and who's willing to do the cost sharing. It's always going to be difficult when you're spending your limited resources that go to streets, and you've always tried to get the biggest bang for the buck. This may not be that case.
Brian, I don't know if you know this, this council is pretty passionate about Empire, so we just had a goal-setting session. And in that goal-setting session, we are working on a blueprint, much like we did for Front Street, for the Empire area. I think it's a gateway to our beaches. I think it has an incredibly rich history. So I appreciate your investment. I think we all do into Empire, and Roger's going to work diligently to get that plan in place ASAP for us. So.
Why not? And I thank you. Thank you guys. Fair.
Okay, moving on, I believe, Benton, you're online. You have a comment you'd like to make tonight?
Yes, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. So my name is Tim Duggan. I live at 725 South 5th Street. You can see how my name is spelled there. I am here today to revisit a request for the city of Coos Bay to acknowledge that March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. I'd like you all to, if you haven't already, read that declaration that I sent as an example. We can have I'd like to, in 2 weeks, have this be an agenda item so we can fully discuss it and have you all say, yes, this is smart, this is great, yes, please. So I'm going to just remind us that every March, the Brain Injury Association of America, BIAA, leads the nation in recognizing Brain Injury Awareness Month, a time to acknowledge and support the millions of Americans impacted by brain injury. The theme for the 2021 through 23 awareness campaign is More Than My Brain Injury. The campaign provides a platform for educating the public about the incidences of brain injury. It aims to destigmatize the injury, highlight the diversity of the brain injury community, and empowers those who have survived. An acquired brain injury is an injury to the brain that's from a trauma, a stroke, an infectious disease, a brain tumor, and also drug use. And it's a serious public health issue in the United States where someone sustains a brain injury every 9 seconds. According to available data, more than 5.3 million Americans live with brain injury-related disabilities at a cost exceeding $76.5 billion annually, and that was quoted from 2010. Susan Connors is the BIAA president and CEO. She says, quote, for many, brain injury evolved into a chronic health condition that changes who they are and how they interact with the world. Raising awareness of the impact of brain injury and making sure people have access to the support they need is essential not only in March, but throughout the entire year. As a community street advocate of who I am in Coos County, I have found that more than 80% of the people who I work with have also sustained a brain injury. And this is part of why they live outside and live in these situations. It's so difficult to manage the regular situations, and they go to self-medicate, which leads to all the other challenging things. So is this something that you all can put on the agenda for 2 weeks and make happen?
So Roger, what's the process for this?
Generally, request is presented to the council. In the past, the mayor has approved or not approved those items coming onto the agenda.
So will that be happening tonight or in the near future?
I can certainly discuss the matter with the mayor and then get back with bid.
So, okay, so the mayor's not here tonight?
Yes, I am. I mean,
I thought it was
if it's appropriate, I'm fine putting this on. Last time it was a time constraint. I believe, Roger, is why we couldn't meet the request. So I think that this is appropriate, and I would like to see it on the agenda as well as everyone else on council feels the same way.
you. Thanks, Joe. Mr. Bennett.
Okay, so Ed, I believe city staff will probably be in touch with you to craft the proclamation.
Okay, and you all received the emails from Nicole?
Yes,
Okay, super. So I'll wait to hear from somebody. Thank you so very much.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
So those are all the names I have on the list. Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to make a public comment? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. And the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is the semi-annual presentation by Visitor and Convention Bureau. Janice, hello.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city council members, city staff, guests in the room and online. We always appreciate being able to come and provide information to you about what's happening with the Visitor and Convention Bureau. I am Janice Longman, the Executive Director of the Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston Visitor and Convention Bureau. You'll notice we added a new name. We changed our name this year because we have funding that is now coming in from the Coos County. We haven't seen it yet, but we know they've been collecting it. So just a reminder, now this is a little harder to see, but we are now a 4-legged stool of funding that comes from 4 IGA partners, the City of Coos Bay, the Coco Indian Tribe, the City of North Bend, and now Coos County in a prescribed area around Charleston. We have about a $1.25 of funding already in from when I did this presentation. Oh, okay, there we go. And to date, we have about 54% of our funding in, and we've only spent about 35%. So I just wanted to give you guys that. And this does not count any monies that would be coming from Charleston. The vote had not passed when we did our budget last year. So anything that comes in from the Charleston tax will be carried over into the new year. Our advertising budget for this year includes straight-on advertising, marketing, trade shows, social media, fam tours, which is when we bring the media into town. This year, our budget for that is $723,000. That has grown quite significantly since 2016, as you can see from this chart, but still, we still lag behind some of our competitors. These next 3 slides are not for you to read. They are just to illustrate how much we do in a quarter. This is 1 quarter of advertising. So I'll go back. This is newspapers, broadcasts, billboards, magazines, digital, social media. And this was just to illustrate the breadth of which we do our advertising for this area to encourage people to visit us. I will remind you where we are in our visitor spending for Coos County. Prior to the pandemic, we had about a $277 million in visitor spend in our county. I'll point out the lodging spend in 2019 was about $60.7 million. When the pandemic hit, we lost almost $100 million in However, our lodging stayed quite high, with only losing about 5%. 2021 is the most recent full year of information that we have. We'll get 2022 in about 3 months. And we recovered about 22% of our visitor spend, but our lodging spend went up, not only over 2020, but over 2019. So the reason we are here tonight mostly is to share information about the strategic planning process the VCB has recently undertaken. And I will call Matthew. So with us tonight on Zoom is Matthew Landkamer with Whereabout. He's a consulting firm out of Portland, and he helped us through this process. So Matthew, I'm going to hand over some of this. I do want to say that we went through this process. We put out an RFP. We selected the company to help us through this process, and Matthew was the selected. Will we be able to sit? There we go. Okay. So Matthew, now you have the reins. So I'll let you show. I think I shared this with him. So Matthew, I'll let you talk to the folks here about how the process worked and where we stand now.
Sounds great. Thanks, Janice. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thanks for having me. I'm going to go quickly, and I think we'll have a little bit of time for some Q&A at the end here. So as you can see, it was a 4-month process. It started off with some discovery to sort of get the lay of the land and put together a current state analysis report that I shared with the planning team, which was members of Janice's board and her staff team, as well as her marketing agency, to then go through the 5 workshops to craft the strategic plan that we're going to share with you tonight. So the discovery phase really informed a thoughtful planning process is the headline here. As part of that report, I shared these 7 perspectives with the team. These are just background information to get everybody on the same page. It's a little bit of an opinion, but also based on what I learned from the survey and other outreach I did. So I won't go through all of them in detail, but VCB got great marks. They have an opportunity to bolster stakeholder communication. Their core assets of natural beauty and outdoor rec can provide a basis for building up some of the softer areas, softer times of the year. Social challenges and infrastructure deficits may be causing some limits to the visitor economy. Workforce challenges combined with relatively consistent hotel occupancy mean that we can use strategies to bolster your already high length of stay, which is something that destination organizations like to track. The longer people stay, the better. Generational and pandemic-influenced shifts in the labor market might be an opportunity to capture remote work stays. And generational shifts in traveler expectations mean we need to take a closer look at sustainability as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those were my sort of insights that I shared with the planning team. And then I'm going to share what we did with that. First, we created a destination vision. And this is in your packet. There's a long-form vision here that takes 2 slides. I'm not going to read it. But this serves the purpose of setting a North Star for the organization and for the destination. This is the future we're trying to create. It may be a little bit of a stretch, it may be a little bit fanciful, but it's something to point towards and to start to build strategies towards. So that's the importance of the vision. Some of the key ideas in it: more outdoor recreation opportunities, better supported, or transportation options, events, festivals, and family-friendly activities, diversified accommodations, so greater diversity of places to stay, locally owned restaurants sourcing local food, and a stronger focus on private tourism. So
I'll butt in here and say that those Post-it notes came out of both the board and the staff meetings that we had, workshops, as we were thinking of all the things that we would love to see here in our own destination.
Thanks, Janice. So as you'll see on the next 2 pages, the vision is long, but it's descriptive of the future. And so I hope you'll take the time to read that.
And that is the vision for the destination. This is what we want to see happen in 10 years and how we hope to get there. Okay, sorry, Matt.
That's all right. So to support that work, to create that vision, the destination organization, the VCB, has more to it. And so their mission in support of that is what's described here. Mission is to inspire visitors and to create desire to explore the region and to contribute to our visitor economy through creative marketing, effective communication, and destination stewardship. So 3 roles in support of the things at the front there, creating that visitor desire and contributing to the economy. Values are important for any organization to understand how they want to work together and how they want to show up. We kept it simple with the DCB and have just 3 of them: acceptance, wonder, and engagement. Their trust, care, and mutual respect enable them to bring their whole selves to work. They never lose sight of the privilege it is to work in this industry and in this place. And their dedication, ownership, and focus on continuous improvement keeps their eyes on the prize. That describes the way the DCB wants to be. And the objectives. These are the major bodies of work Janice and her team will undertake over the next 3 years to try to get closer and closer to that vision that we described. So 5 things here: drive visitation and length of stay, deepen community engagement and education, nurture and promote a sustainable, diverse, and welcoming community, advocate for asset and infrastructure improvements, and build our organizational capacity. I think you can probably see from those 7 themes that I shared, some of those issues show up and fall into these categories. You can see that the work is tailored to address some of those opportunities and challenges. I'll go through each of the objectives quickly, and then I think we'll have a little time if I'm not going too slowly. Each objective has a set of indicators and a set of strategies. The indicators are how we know we're successful. So for objective 1 about visitation and length of stay, we're going to grow length of stay to 3.75 days, and each year we will grow total visitation to the area. 5 strategies there. We'll partner with organizations to foster education and volunteerism, which is when visitors come and help out in the market to do things. It's part of a regenerative tourism idea that's gaining a lot of traction in the industry. We're going to develop consistent hotel partner packages and promotions, cultural asset passport program, focusing marketing efforts on high return verticals like running, with your Steve Prefontaine history and other events, and develop remote work and play promotions. Objective 2 is about community engagement and education. We're going to measure stakeholder survey score on how good the DCB's communication is. And then each year we're going to grow attendance at a new Tourism Week luncheon and grow a customer service score on the visitor survey. 5 strategies here. That Tourism Week luncheon I mentioned will be a new event that will happen annually. Deepen engagement and relationship building with local businesses and tourism stakeholders, including a frontline recognition program, which I believe used to exist and will come back. Adopt and deploy customer service curriculum for tourism businesses. This isn't going to be created from scratch, but rather find a good one off the shelf and use it. Partner with BACC on business education and translate board reports in the regular industry newsletter. Janice, how am I doing on time?
You're doing good. I would like everybody to put May 10th on their agenda or on their calendar, because that will be the Tourism Week luncheon.
Okay, it's already scheduled. Look at you. You're already getting stuff done. Objective 3, nurture and promote a sustainable, diverse, and welcoming community. This addresses some of those shifting generational expectations that I mentioned earlier. We're going to measure 2 things here. Each year we'll grow visitor perception of destination sustainability, and each year we'll grow perception of welcome on the visitor survey. So how welcome people feel and how sustainable they perceive the destination to be. To do that, we'll launch and sustain an annual visitor survey. We'll engage in being at the table on local conversations and planning around sustainability and diversity, develop a sustainable tourism section on the website, and lead the creation of a DEI plan for the local tourism industry. On objective 4, advocate for asset and infrastructure improvements. We'll measure 3 things to see how successful we are at 3-year improvement in aggregate multimodal transportation score on stakeholder survey. That sounds like a bit of jargon, but essentially we're asking stakeholders, how good are these different kinds of transportation in our market, and we're going to aggregate that score and hope to get it improved over 3 years. An increase in commuter flights to the airport, and a year-over-year increase in average tourism infrastructure score on that visitor survey. So asking visitors how the infrastructure is. To do that, we'll develop a prioritized list of transportation gaps and advocate for strategies to solve them. Create an asset map for adventure equipment rentals, including access opportunities for persons with disabilities. and advocate to expand the geography and quality of broadband access, including at the state parks, which is a current gap area. And finally, build our organizational capacity. No strategic plan is good if you're not putting your own oxygen mask on first, so the VCB needs to do some things to enable it to take on these bigger ideas. 3 indicators here: a growth in volunteer headcount, a growth in the open rate on their stakeholder emails, meaning what percentage of the recipients of the emails open those emails, and a growth in general satisfaction score on the stakeholder survey. 4 strategies: hire PR contractors for visitor-facing content and to broaden our capacity for stakeholder communication. Perform a skills and capabilities gap assessment for the staff. Formalize a professional development plan for the staff, which would respond to some of those identified gaps. And enhance volunteer recruitment. So that sounds like a lot, but the VCB has 3 years to do it. So I think, a few strategies a year, and they'll just work their way through it. I think we have time for questions now, right, Janice?
Yes, we do. And so some of this, you notice, especially Objective 4, is not us doing all the work ourselves, but us working with all of you and others in the community to make some of those things come to pass. Some of these things have to come to pass for us to ever hit that vision statement that we have for our destination. So yeah, questions?
I have a question. Number 6 in your overview of strategic perspectives. Generational and pandemic-influenced shifts in the labor market provide an opportunity for the VCB area to capture remote work states. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So one of the promotions that we're seeing in other destinations is to advocate for remote workers. So in other words, people who work in California but could live anywhere because they can, as long as there's good broadband or Wi-Fi, they can live and work anywhere. So some of that is not to have them move here, but to have them come for an extended stay, 5, 10 days, where they're working some of it and enjoying the recreation other times.
That's great. Anybody else have questions for Janice or Matthew?
I don't have a question, but of course I have a comment. As a representative on that board, I first want to thank Matthew for all of his work. He kept us very focused. There was a lot of public engagement. We had some listening sessions and some shareholder meetings, so it was a really great process. But I think the reason that the board decided to do this in the first place was, I remember many years ago that the budget was $300,000 to promote this region, and now we're talking about $1.3 million, and that doesn't even include the revenues from Charleston. And this board really felt a sense of responsibility to make sure that everyone understood how we're spending the dollars and how we are focused on driving visitation into this community. So I want to thank Janice, I want to thank all of the members of the board. It was a really great process, and I'm really excited to see, there's a lot of things on there, shocking, but I'm really excited to see how much we can accomplish in the next 3 years.
I agree, and I was at a conference a couple of weeks back, and one of the things that came out, and it's not just us, visitor and convention bureaus are great at marketing our destination. We're really bad at telling everybody what we do. So that's why the stakeholder communications is so important to me this year, because if people in our community and in our businesses don't understand what it is we do for our community and our visitor economy, then they will not advocate for what we are pushing our elected officials to work on. So.
Well, just another comment on that. Even though you may be very bad about telling us about all of those things, I think we feel it. We see it. I'm constantly asking people how they come to the community, even my neighbors who moved here on 3 sides of my house. They all visited here, and I think that is indicative of the people that we have in place, that board and yourself and your staff. Thank you.
How many staff are there?
We are 3. And one of them is almost fully dedicated to just running the Visitor Information Center. She does do some marketing for us. In fact, she has been doing trade shows in Eugene. She goes to Roseburg, Medford, and Northern California over the next 4 weeks. So she'll be gone every weekend for 4 weeks at big boat and sport shows. So.
Mayor, it looks like you have a comment?
Yeah, as you know, tourism is my passion. 6 years ago, we didn't have anyone on staff. Today, we have 3 for the BCB. I'm so proud to see where it's at, how it's grown. Thank you, Janice and staff. Matthew, what a great report. I look forward to seeing these all come about. In 3 years is what I saw. Is that true? Hopefully. I know that's being facetious a little bit. So one part you mentioned is partnering with organizations. Can you expand on that? Are we talking local organizations or outside the area?
Both. Some of this is partnering with, say, our cultural organizations, the Art Museum, the History Museum, the Marine Life Center, to do what we're calling a cultural passport, where a visitor can buy one ticket and go to all the cultural opportunities in our communities. Some of it is working with hotels and restaurants to put together promotional packages and things like that that we can use to help promote our area, giveaways and things like that. So there's a lot of varying state parks. Working with state parks right now, we're talking about the fact that there's not any broadband, and the woman who drove off the cliff might have been rescued had she been able to reach someone. And we don't want that to ever happen again in our community. So having cellular service out where people are recreating is really important. So we're talking to some cell companies right now about putting a cell tower out there to help broaden reach. So there's a lot. We work with the airport. We work also regionally with organizations like the Travel Southern Oregon Coast organization that helps to create opportunities. We just installed the 88 kayak launch at Empire Lakes at John Toppins. We're eventually going to have, and I say we because I'm on their board, have 14 of these all up and down the coast. So we work closely with them. We work closely with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. And I would start reeling off all these acronyms, except that the tourism industry is known for them, and we have a bunch of them, but we also work closely with Travel Oregon on several projects. In fact, we just recently received a grant from Travel Oregon for $25,000 to do an assessment of our accessibility for people with disabilities. And that's not an ADA compliant government thing. This is a nonprofit organization that comes in and will look at what we have. We'll offer us some suggestions if we're missing something, but then we'll promote us as having opportunities for those people with disabilities to recreate and to enjoy themselves in our destination. And that's what we're partnering or working with a company called Wheel World. And there are 7 other destinations along the coast that got grant funds to do this. We're all doing it together.
And that's a great example of the work that we're doing in the space of DEI. And I know that we're working with, or EDI as the mayor would correct me because that's more appropriate now. But that would be an example of that. And Travel Oregon is leading in that space. And so taking some learnings from them and being able to apply it to our community, I think will be really beneficial to all.
I agree. We want to be a welcoming community for everyone, even those with physical, mental, and sensory disabilities.
This is even for families with young children, though, that need stroller access. That's huge, so I appreciate the work that you're doing there.
Yes, so we're seeing at other places, things like Moby Mats on the beach, where a wheelchair can actually not just stay in the parking lot and look at the ocean from afar, but can get down onto the beach and things like that, which would be good for families with strollers as well.
Or in my case, a 10-year-old will allow me to be in.
Exactly, yes. All right, any other questions?
Unfortunately, the public comment period of our meeting is ended, so I'm sure Janice would welcome you contacting her.
And so
Either
I can't add to what she's saying as
No.
far as community partnerships.
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, well, I'd like to get in touch with you. Thanks.
Yes, I'm at the Coos Bay Visitor Information Center, and we have a great website, Oregon'sAdventureCoast.com. As a reminder, we are the Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston Visitor and Convention Bureau. That's our official name. That's how the Secretary of State recognizes us. But our brand for the destination is Oregon's Adventure Coast. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice.
Thank you, Janice. Janice also serves on the library board, and it seems like every meeting she's tuning in from some hotel out promoting our area, so thank you, Janice. Moving on, I don't see MJ here. Is someone else going to do it or not?
And we don't believe so. We were unable to contact her today, so we'll reschedule.
Okay, so we're going to reschedule the annual presentation by the Marshfield Sun Museum Association. Move on to item number 6, approval of Black History Month proclamation. And I believe Jamari, you're going to read that for us?
Come on, here.
Hello.
Hello.
We were like working on our game plan of how we were going to do it.
I got dragged into this.
Okay, well, my name is Jamar Roth. I'm a community advocate and I'm the director of the South Coast Equity Coalition.
My name is Shirley Reynolds, and I relocated here from Chicago, Illinois, and I am a primary care provider.
Okay, so one, happy Black History Month. The proclamation says, whereas since 1976, every United States president has officially designated the month of February as National Black History Month to honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience. And whereas the city of Coos Bay takes pride in joining Americans throughout the county in recognizing February as Black History Month. And whereas African Americans have played significant roles and made lasting contributions to our city's history and its economic and cultural, spiritual, and political development, while working tirelessly to contribute to every aspect of American society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas the presence and contributions of Black communities continue to enhance the quality of life in the city of Coos Bay.
And whereas Black History Month calls our nation's attention to recognize and celebrate the essential contributions and resilience of Black communities while acknowledging the injustice that remains. And whereas Black History Month is a time where all Americans are encouraged to reflect on our collective history of slavery and oppression of Black communities and recommit to prioritizing racial equity, inclusion, and respect for human dignity in all that we do. And whereas though we celebrate Black History Month in February, we affirm that Black history is the American history and recognize it as an ever-present part of collective experience that we must pass on and learn from. And now, therefore,
Up here.
Okay, sorry. I was going to say, I'm Joe Benetti. Sorry, sir.
Go ahead, Mayor.
All right, now therefore I, Joe Benetti, Mayor of the City of Coos Bay, and on behalf of the City Council, do here proclaim the month of February 2023 as Black History Month. In the City of Coos Bay, I encourage everyone to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists, respect the rights of all the people, and to celebrate the great diversity of our city. Thank you. And thank you both for reading it and being here.
You're welcome, sir.
Council, I would entertain a motion to accept the proclamation.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve February as Black History Month. Any discussion?
Roger, is this the first time that we've passed this proclamation?
No, this is the second year in a row.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jamar.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is item number 7 is appointments to the Planning Commission. Roger, you're taking it?
Yes, the city council uses a number of boards, commissions, and committees to assist you and undertake work throughout the city. One such commission is the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission works with staff on proposed land use legislation and then makes recommendations to the council. They also review various land use applications, and depending on the level of the development, they either make decisions or make recommendations to you. They meet monthly when they have work to do, which generally is every month. It consists of 7 members with staggered terms. 2 of those staggered terms are up for at the end of their term, and the council directed staff to go out and request for those interested to apply. You have 2 openings and 2 applications. Both are returning planning commission members. Both are very active, and you were able to meet them again this evening prior to this meeting.
So, council, how would you like to proceed on this matter?
I move that we reappoint Amy Aguirre and Bill Davis to the Planning Commission for 4-year terms ending December 31st, 2026.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to appoint Amy Aguirre and Bill Davis for 4-year terms on the planning commission. Any discussion? I'll just say I was very impressed with both of them in the interviews. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Sorry. Opposed? Motion carries. And you will be contacting them?
Yes.
Item number 8 is appointment to the Coos County Urban Renewal Agency Board.
Yes, in addition to the council and the city having a number of boards, commissions, and committees, the council and/or staff serve on various other governmental, non-governmental, and community boards. One such intergovernmental board is the Coos County Urban Renewal Agency, which is out, actually the area is on the North Spit. Coos Bay has the privilege of having 2 appointees on that board, Mayor Benetti and Councilor DeNovo. Councilor DeNovo's appointment time is ended, and it is up to you to consider reappointment. She has indicated her desire to continue serving on that board, representing the city of Coos Bay.
Yes, we discussed this at the last work session, I believe. So, council, how would you like to proceed?
I move to reappoint Councilor Lucinda DeNovo as the City of Coos Bay representative to the Coos County Urban Renewal Agency Board. Second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint Councilor Lucinda DeNovo as the City of Coos Bay representative to the Coos County Urban Renewal Agency Board. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 9 is adoption of resolution 23-01, amending the council rules.
This is matters just carrying forward discussions which started in December of last year and was discussed at your last regular meeting about changing the council rules and starting the council meeting times 1 hour earlier than you currently do. In addition, was discussed based off of consensus of the council to do that would be to also change your ending time instead of 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We also took the liberty of including new language into your council rules, which talked about virtual attendance. While it was not allowed, nothing in our rules actually spoke to it, since that's relatively new from the COVID era. Additionally, council identified that a practice of the council, at least for public comment speaking times, which has been 3 minutes, it actually states it's 5 minutes in the rule. I believe it's the council's desires to go ahead and correct that area now. That is everything.
Yeah, we discussed this at great length too at the last work session, and I'm happy
also, we did the survey with community to see what was a better time for council meetings for them. And so I think we all came to a consensus that 6 o'clock was the best time, and that's what we saw from the survey. So I'm excited with the changes we made, and I'm also excited that we continue to be more accessible to our citizens, whether it's via a virtual meeting or via council chambers, as we see here today.
Any other further discussion? How would you like to proceed?
I'll move to adopt Resolution 23-01, amending the council rules.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 23-01, amending the council rules. Any further discussion?
Roger, the only question I have is any meeting times, will that go into effect the next regularly scheduled meeting?
Once approved, henceforth until change, council meetings and work sessions will begin at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Guess we're meeting at 6 o'clock. Item number 10 is adoption of Resolution 23-02, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Coos Bay and the Renewal Agency for leisure financing. Nicole?
Yes, thank you. As stated in ORS 457, urban renewal agencies operate on tax increment revenues. Those revenues can only be spent on debt service, and we access those revenues through one of two ways. One is through conventional financing, going out to request financing from banks. That's generally a pretty detailed process, involves financial advisors, bond counsel, bid soliciting, and things like that. That's intended to cover the cost of long-term capital projects. The additional way that we can access that, those tax increment revenues is through what's called de jure financing. And that is creating a short-term loan in between the city and the urban renewal agency. It's repaid, generally it's intended to be a couple days. We pay interest on that, for that loan, and that then leaves those funds available to cover current year, short-term kind of projects that we want to support in both of those districts. Those projects need to be within the plans, identified already, and we see such things as support of our improvement program, those grants that we do for the community, and then we're looking towards Front Street options in the downtown. So there's a lot of great things we do with those short-term kind of funding options. So that process requires that we pass a resolution. We present that here to council. We'll present that later to the Urban Renewal Agency, and also establish an intergovernmental agreement between the two bodies to establish the dollar amount and that repayment process. So
We do this annually, is that correct?
we do.
And
We do.
we'll see it again in the urban renewal agency meeting, correct?
You will.
Does anybody have any questions for Nicole? How would you like to proceed?
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2302 to approve an intergovernmental agreement between City of Coos Bay and the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Coos Bay, and authorize up to $1,751,354 in de jure financing budgeted to fund planned projects, of which $433,426 will be in the Empire District and $1,317,928 will be in the Downtown District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 23-2, approving an IGA in the City of Coos Bay and the Urban Renewal Agency for de jure financing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11 is City Manager's Report. Looks like it's Nicole tonight.
I get to have a turn at this. So I would first start out by recognizing we have a new member in our space with us. Christine Sylvester has joined our team. She comes with some great experience. We'll see her around pretty frequently with these meetings. And then I'd also call to note the barriers are down and we are Zoom live. So 2 big feats. And without, knock on wood, much complications as of yet. So we still have some work to do with the nose to peak transition. We want to make sure those agendas that we are creating with those staff reports and peak are actually truly going to post to our website. It's about transparency for the community and having them have access to those. So that connection just wasn't happening this week, so we backpedaled to Novus. I would give you an update on some projects that are happening around town, maybe of interest. Boardwalk, the brickwork is underway, expected to be completed later this week. Gangway will begin work in the next week. The bulwarks, which I'll translate that for you because I didn't know what that was. It's actually those benches, those large wood pieces that are on the boardwalk. We have 19 of those. Those are currently being planed. We have some new lighting that has been installed to eliminate the flagpoles. The flagpoles have been ordered, which have some different equipment in that, allowing staff to be able to raise and lower those flags without the boom truck. We will be installing those soon. We do also have some map lighting to update in the pavilion to bring that back to the status it was. Empire Fishing Pier, the underwater work was complete. The construction continues on the rest of that work. There has been some work on the ramp, which will kind of create that connection so folks making ADA access a little bit easier without that big gap. We had planned on audio update in council chambers happening tomorrow, but just this evening while sitting here, I got an update that equipment wasn't delivered to the consultant, so they'll be here Monday. So that will be our next hurdle for next meeting. So I think that's it, unless you have some questions.
Yeah, question?
More comments, shocking. I just wanted to thank the staff and thank Nicole. I've been a driver for Zoom for a while, and so I'm really excited that we got that in such short order. It's like you've all my passion projects you just ticked off today. So we talked recently about the boardwalk and how it had started eroding, and the fact that we're already planing all those seats, the fact that there are lights up, the fact that flagpoles will be installed. All of that takes a lot of work, and I just want to acknowledge the staff for just doing such good work. And that boardwalk, we only brought that up really recently, so thank you very much to the staff and to Nicole and to Roger.
Thank
I
you.
walked by when they were doing the brickwork. What an incredible, hard project. That I think it was just 2 individuals working on it, and really impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Moving on to item number 12 is council comments. Sarah?
Sure. I had the privilege of spending some intimate time with Senator Jeff Merkley on Friday. It was a really great opportunity to talk about some infrastructure that the city desperately needs and how we may get the federal government to help us with that. And the following day, he was at a town hall. As you probably know, the state only has 2 state senators, and the fact that he came and spent that intimate time on the South Coast was special, and appreciate him for doing that.
Thank you, Sarah. Stephanie?
I have nothing.
Wow.
I just wanted to thank Jamar and his guest for reading that proclamation. Forgive me, I forgot your name.
Shirley Reynolds.
Shirley Reynolds, so
Yes,
thank you. I really appreciate that. I also, Jamar gave us these lovely history of racial injustice calendars, so super educational. So thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jamar. And I've spoken a lot tonight, so that is all I have to say for this evening.
Thank you, Lucinda. Drew?
Hey, just a quick little bit. We did the point in time count recently. It's when we take about a minute to try and count as many homeless individuals in our community as possible. We do it at the end of January. Last year, the state didn't certify it until December, so numbers are temporarily or technically soft until then. But so far, in Coos County, it's up to 453 individuals so far, although whoever drew the geography was a little off, so that number is definitely going to go up. But yeah, just highlighting the problem that's going on. But that's all on 23 of them so far are vets. That's all I got.
Thank you, Drew. Carmen?
I don't have anything this evening, so thank you.
Mayor?
I'd just like to also chime in, as Lucinda did, and Sarah about the boardwalk. Roger and Nicole, I know it's something that it's not easy task to take care of, and this is the first step, so thank you so much. I also want to recognize that Senator Merkley, when he was in town, recognized Rotary for the bus jam, and Stephanie was there and getting that recognition, so thank you for all your hard work on that. I'm glad it was recognized by Senator Merkley. And the Zoom, Nicole, I can tell you my experience being on this side is better, and so thank you for taking that step and moving forward. And Rob, thank you for going in and running the meeting. And not last, but the ladies, I should say, Shirley, welcome to our area. I hope this is much more suitable than Chicago for you. I think it's more flattering, and I hope you find it also suitable.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also I want to welcome Christine to the staff. I heard your title is officially is the staff cat herder. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I also want to thank Jamar and Shirley for coming and reading the proclamation today. Appreciate that. And Janice and Matthew for your presentation today. Appreciate that. And then lastly, I just want to mention that the Community Coalition of Empire is kicked off the utility box project. Most of you are familiar with the ones that the Coos Bay Downtown Association did, and now we're trying to extend that out to Empire. The call to artist is now open. I believe it'll be on the Friday update. So if you would like to know how to submit those, you can look at the Friday update on Friday, or you can contact myself, or I'm sure Sarah doesn't mind you contacting her. I don't have all the information in front of me, or I will share it with you. So if you know any artists, or you are an artist and are interested in painting some utility boxes out of Empire, we would appreciate your submission. And that's all I have tonight. With no further business, I will adjourn the council meeting. We do have an urban renewal meeting, so I will pass it off to Chair Kilmer.
And we do not need to delay any time. Go ahead and call the meeting of the Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency to order. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight? Don't have anything. So we will move on to the next item, which is the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second. All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next item we have is a consideration of approval of improvement program grant request for 100 Central Avenue. And Roger, you're going to take this?
Yes, I am.
Counselor Kilmer, I think we missed the du jour.
It's written two different ways. Oh, yeah, I was looking at the paper.
Okay, forgive me.
Which one do I go by?
Go with that one.
Go with that one, go with where we are. Okay, Roger. You have the floor.
Yes, the city received a grant request from Jim Berg and Ed Meyer, the co-owners of North Point Realty and the building located at 100 Central Avenue. They've submitted an improvement grant request with a project to replace the awning material on the awning that faces both the east and the south sides of their building. I think the awning was initially put up in the 90s. It has had some portions of the awning cover recently replaced, and they're looking to replace the remaining amount of material on both sides. They went out for 2 bids. The lowest bid is $20,000 21,000, excuse me. And so our grant program, as stipulated by the agency, is a 50-50 match. Therefore, they're requesting 50% of those funds, or $10,500. As far as the process, Nicole and I met with them to confirm the scope of the project. The project has also been provided to the design assistance team, who came back and reviewed it, and they voted unanimously to ask the Urban Renewal Agency to recommend that. That was all 5 members.
Any questions or comments? Then how would the agency like to proceed? I move to approve the project and then an improvement program grant request for 100 Central Avenue as proposed for 50% of eligible expenses up to $10,500.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant request. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is adoption of Resolution 23-01 approving the intergovernmental agreement. And I believe Nicole, you are going to take this one?
I am, thank you. As stated in ORS 457, urban renewal agencies operate under tax incremental revenues. And those revenues can only be spent towards payments against debt service. There are 2 ways in which we can get access to those operational revenues, and one of those is in traditional financing that involves issuing a request for financing, having banks respond. It also involves financial advisors, bond attorneys, and it's kind of lengthy and a little bit more costly. That process is intended to cover long-term capital projects. The second option is what is known as de jure financing. It's a short-term, quickly repaid loan, and that is initiated and done with the city, with assistance of the city. The city will loan the funds, and the Urban Renewal Agency repays those. In that type of financing, that's intended to cover short-term projects. Those projects could be things like our improvement program grants, which help businesses improve their facilities. And it's, some other great things that we're doing with that is going to be related to Front Street in the downtown area. We're looking at the Empire blueprint. We'll do some funding in there too. So what you have before you is a resolution to pass to approve that de jure financing.
And that went before the council at their meeting, and now here's where we are. How would the agency like to proceed, if you don't have any questions?
Move that we adopt Resolution 2301 to approve an IGA between the City of Coos Bay and the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Coos Bay, and authorize up to $1,751,354 in de jure financing budgeted to fund planned projects, of which $433,426 will be for the Empire District and $1,317,928 will be for the Downtown District.
Second?
Future.
Yeah, I survived.
Had practiced before. All right, we have a motion to approve Resolution 23-01 to approve the IGA between the City of Coos Bay and the Urban Renewal Agency, and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And with that, I don't believe there's any other business to come before this body, so we will adjourn.